You're about to learn 56 facts about space that you may not have known. 1. The first person to look into space using a telescope was Galileo, almost 400 years ago. 2. Because fragrance depends on several environmental factors such as temperature, humidity, and the age of the flower, flowers smell different in space than they do on Earth. The fragrance of various roses grown on the Space Shuttle Discovery was later reproduced and incorporated into Zen, a perfume sold by the Japanese company Shiseido. 3. In 1895, Konstantin Tsiolkovsky, one of the first Russian rocket scientists, was the first to propose the concept of space elevators, a type of space transportation system. 4. While Han Solo struggled to navigate the packed asteroid belt in the Star Wars movie, The Empire Strikes Back, in reality the density of asteroids is about 1 million square kilometers apart. Therefore, the probability of colliding with an asteroid is about 1 in a billion. 5. There is no sound in space. 6. The first Earthling in space was Laika, a dog that was launched into space on the Soviet Sputnik 2 spacecraft in 1957. After a week in space, the air in the capsule ran out and she died. 7. When water boils on Earth, it creates thousands of small bubbles. However, in space, boiling water creates one giant wavy bubble. Scientists believe this is due to the lack of convection and buoyancy that accompanies gravity. 8. On Earth, the flame will rise. However, in space, the flame will move away from the source in all directions. Since space has no gravity, expanding hot air experiences equal resistance in all directions, so it moves spherically from its source. 9. Most atoms in our bodies were created in stars by fusion. 10. The first woman in space was Valentina Tereshkova, a Soviet cosmonaut who flew aboard Vostok 6 on June 16, 1963. 11. Because there is no gravity in space, there is no natural convection, which means that body heat will not rise from the skin. Because of this, the body will constantly sweat to cool down, but unfortunately, the sweat will not drip or evaporate, it will just accumulate. 12. Without gravity, body fluids rise higher in the body than on Earth, which means there is more fluid in the skull pressing on the eyes than normal. This pressurizes the astronauts' eyeballs and blurs their vision. 13. Some bacterial colonies grow much faster in space. For example, astronomical E. coli colonies grow almost twice as fast as E. coli on Earth. Also, salmonella becomes much more deadly during a spacecraft flight than on Earth. 14. Theorists believe that if you tune your TV to any channel it doesn't receive, about 1% of the static on it is an ancient remnant of the Big Bang. 15. Although everyone calls it the Big Bang, proponents of the theory warn us not to think of it as a normal explosion, but rather a sudden expansion. 16. Some scientists believe that we can look back 10 to 43 seconds after the Big Bang, when the universe was so small that it could only be seen under a microscope. The number 10 minus 43 is equal to 0.00000000000000000000000000000000000000001, or 1/10,000,000th of a trillionth of a trillionth of a second. 17. These were instantly joined by elementary particles. 18. A black hole occurs when a large star explodes and the remaining core collapses into an object so small and dense that its gravity becomes too strong for even the fastest thing in the universe, light. The first confirmed black hole that was discovered was Cygnus X1 in 1964. 19. Dark matter, which is related to dark energy, is the glue that holds the universe together. However, it has not been directly measured, although scientists believe it has a better chance of being detected than dark energy. 20. Cosmic rays are high-energy particles that flow through our solar system from deep in outer space, but astronomers are unsure of their origin. 21. Theorists believe that about 98% of all matter that exists was created with the Big Bang, helium, hydrogen, and lithium. Heavier substances such as carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen came later. 22. Our solar system, with the Sun, the planets, and their moons, and a billion asteroids and comets, fills less than a trillionth of our universe. 23. Our nearest neighbor in space, Proxima Centauri, which is part of a three-star cluster known as Alpha Centauri, is 4.3 light-years away, which is about 100 million times farther than a trip to the moon from Earth. It would take at least 25,000 years to reach it by spacecraft. To reach its next neighbor, Sirius, the dog star, would take another 4.6 light-years to travel. 24. In the Milky Way, the average distance between stars is about 5 light-years. 25. No one knows how many stars are in the Milky Way. Estimates range from 100 to 400 billion. And the Milky Way is just one of 140 billion galaxies, many of which are larger than our own. Some astronomers argue that with so many stars, it is highly likely that the number of advanced civilizations in the Milky Way is probably in the millions. 26. Although Big Bang theorists believe the universe is about 13.7 billion years old, they have also estimated it to be 156 billion years old. They explain that its diameter is larger than its age because it has been expanding since the Big Bang. 27. NASA officials claim that astronauts never had sex on the International Space Station or during any shuttle missions. Scientists suggest, however, that while sex in space may pose some mechanical problems, conceiving a child could be dangerous. Low gravity could increase the risk of ectopic pregnancy, and radiation exposure could increase the risk of birth defects. 28. The first space observatory may have been Stonehenge. Around 2600 BC. The Britons built stones that marked the critical positions of the Sun and Moon throughout the year. 29. The Outer Space Treaty governs international space law. It states that outer space is free to be explored by all nations and that no one can claim it. It also prohibits the deployment of nuclear weapons in outer space. 30. The term outer space was first used in Lady Emmeline Stewart-Wortley's 1842 epic poem, The Virgin of Moscow. The term outer space was used as early as 1697 in Milton's Paradise Lost to describe the region beyond Earth's sky. 31. The temperature of the cosmic microwave background radiation that pervades the entire universe is 2.7 degrees Kelvin, minus 270.45 degrees Celsius, minus 454.81 degrees Fahrenheit. 32. The brightest and most massive known star is R136a1 in the Large Magellanic Cloud. It is 8.7 million times brighter than the Sun. 33. The oldest known star is the red giant E1523-0901. It is 13.2 billion years old and almost as old as the universe itself. 34. It takes light, photons, 8 minutes and 22 seconds to reach Earth from the surface of the Sun, but 100,000 years from its core. 35. The core of a neutron star is so dense that one spoonful of matter from it would weigh 100 billion kilograms. 36. Only about 6,000 stars are visible to the naked eye from Earth, and only 2,000 can be seen from anywhere. With binoculars, the number of stars that can be seen from one location is about 50,000. 37. Space is so dark because we can only see light when it hits and reflects off an object. 38. Without gravity, food does not settle on our taste buds as we are used to on Earth. Also, liquids tend to rise and collect in the sinuses, causing astronauts to feel stuffy, which leads to decreased taste sensations. 39. After Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin returned to Earth from the Moon, they were quarantined for 21 days until it was determined that they had not brought space plague. It was later determined that the Moon was devoid of life. 40. From 1969 to 1972, there were 6 successful missions to land humans on the Moon from Earth. A total of 12 astronauts explored its surface. No one else has been on the Moon since December 14, 1972. 41. After returning to Earth, many astronauts have a hard time adjusting to gravity, and they often forget that things fall if you drop them. 42. Astronauts in space will lose about 1% of their muscle mass each month if they don't exercise at least 2 hours a day. 43. The first human ashes to leave the solar system will be Clyde Tombaugh, the man who discovered Pluto. His ashes are aboard the New Horizons spacecraft. 44. Black holes are believed to exist at the center of galaxies that are about 10 to 18 billion times heavier than the Sun. 45. Our universe is made up of about 23% dark matter, 4% ordinary matter, and 73% dark energy. 46. The 16th century English admiral and explorer Sir Francis Drake proposed the Drake equation, according to which there could be millions of civilizations in our universe. 47. The first man in space was Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin, who circled the Earth on Vostok 1 in 1961. The following year, American astronaut John Glenn, Jr. became the first American to orbit the Earth. American Neil Armstrong was the first man to set foot on the moon in 1969. 48, about 20 light-years away from Earth is the star BPM 37093, aka Lucy, after the Beatles' song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. This white dwarf is actually one huge diamond that weighs 10 billion trillion carats and is the size of our moon. 49, the largest star in our known universe is located in the constellation of Swan. It is a hypergiant that is nearly 1 million times larger than the Sun. 50, more than 100 artificial satellites are launched into space each year. 51, scientists have estimated that there may be as many as 20 trillion galaxies in our universe. 52. In 1992, more than 350 years after Galileo's discovery, the Catholic Church finally issued a statement through Pope John Paul II acknowledging that the Earth does indeed move around the Sun and apologizing for its treatment of Galileo, thus vindicating the Italian astronomer it had persecuted in his lifetime and shunned for so many centuries. 53. Tiny stars live longer than big stars. A tiny star can live for hundreds of billions of years, while a huge star can live for only a few million years. Our Sun is a medium-sized star that will shine for another 5 billion years. 54. Jupiter weighs twice as much as all of our planets together. 55. The winds on Neptune are the fastest in our solar system at about 2,400 kilometers per hour. 56. Saturn is the lightest planet. It is even lighter than water. If there were an ocean big enough to hold Saturn, this gas giant would float like a beach ball.